time to open yet another assembly square set, and this time we're actually building assembly square out of it. So this is indeed my fourth assembly square set. I have used 2 for my town hall and 1 for the European Jazz Cafe. But as this is actually going to be an assembly square build, this time I don't have to sort out all the parts. I can just build this bag by bag. So let's open the box and start building. A box inside another box? That's quite interesting. That is indeed a huge pile of parts. As usual, I have decided to replace these green base plates that come with the set with grey ones. And that's because my Lego town is on top of a shelf, quite close to your eye level. So you really can see the edges of the base plates under the tiling. Once again, the first part of the build is tiling pretty much the entire base plate. It takes quite a lot of time as the parts are quite small, but then again it kind of gives you the footprint of the whole build. So you kind of get a first idea how your building is going to look, even if you don't get to assemble any walls at this point. And really there is no other efficient way to do this. If you first build some walls, then your hands won't fit inside the rooms to tile the floors. You could do the outside pavement last, but even that might include some difficult places for your hands if the walls would already be there. So in a way, it makes sense that all the tiling is done at this point. There is just quite a lot of it, as this building is 1.5 base plates. And little by little, that area starts to fill. And we also get to place first layer of bricks to form the foundations of the walls. At least the tiling pattern differs between the different buildings, so the build isn't that repetitious. So, here is how the build looks after bag 1. We got that pram there, and then the outline of the whole build. Eventually, we're gonna have a bakery here on the right hand side, a flower shop here in the middle, and a cafe here in the left. And there's going to be a fountain there in the middle. And then on to bag 2, or I should rather say set of bag 2s. That's quite a lot of parts there. And I think that that is one of the biggest differences that this older set has compared to more modern sets. The set has over 4,000 pieces, but only 6 numbered building steps. That of course means that the part count for each step is huge. More modern set of this size could have something between 15 and 20 building steps. But then again, at least some building steps is better than no building steps at all. Sometimes Mr. Human Helper tells stories about his childhood back in the 80s and 90s, where the bags were not numbered at all. You just had to open up everything and sort the pieces. But then again, it doesn't sound that impossible, because we have done that with alt builds several times already. But let's get back to the actual build. Some interesting details are being built for the flower shop. Another interesting detail is that bar piece in the lower right corner. You can spot it because it has a green cone piece attached to it. you can use that bar element outside the building to push a tray of cookies out from the oven. You really can't fit your finger inside there to pull the tray out. Finally, the walls have reached the level where we could add windows and doors, and that meant that there was a momentary illusion of quick progress. Unfortunately, you cannot see it from this angle how the front facade of the flower shop takes shape. But we will take a closer look at that once this build phase is complete. The next step was building a shelf full of bakery goodies. It is one of those builds that is built into the wall of the building, so you really can see that from the outside. That means that the building won't look that good on its own, but if you place it against another building, it won't be a problem. Mine will be at the edge of layout, but it will be against a cabinet next to the bookshelf, so it won't be an issue for me. The next step appeared to be the most difficult part of this build. The bakery had tall windows made from clear garage door elements placed sideways. The pegs were inserted into open studs of Technic bricks, and it was quite difficult to get them all in at the same time. But eventually, Mr. Human Helper got it done. After that, the last steps were adding some height to the bakery. Interestingly, the final height of the flower shop is not part of this build step. There is a small connection to the cafe building next to it, but as the cafe is not yet built, we cannot complete the flower shop either. But the first floor of the bakery will get completed in this step. The final step is completing an interesting dome that is placed upside down in the build. I guess that is because there is no inverted versions of those dome pieces. And here you can see the progress so far. The bakery has this giant wedding cake here in the window. And here is the flower shop next to bakery. And here you can see some close-ups of the details inside the buildings. The customers can actually walk from the bakery to the flower shop within the building. And here you can see close-up of that inverted dome. And finally, here is the backside of the build, with those stairs leading up to the future second floor. Then it was time to open another set of packs and start building that cafe and finish the flower shop. There wasn't nearly as much pieces as there were in the previous build phase, but there was still quite a lot of them. The outer wall of the cafe was gaining height pretty rapidly, and some wall-mounted lights were added there as an extra detail. Next, the back wall was completed, but you really can't see it from this angle. Then it was time to add some interior details. Another table and a seat for a customer, stairs to the second floor, a coffee machine, and a counter for the barista. And one more table for the customers to enjoy their purchases. Next, the missing walls of the cafe were added quickly in with different sized glass panels. And right about now, you can see the first signs why the flower shop was not built to full height. There will be a lattice on top of those arch pieces that connect the buildings. Apparently, Mr. Human Helper had difficulties following the instructions as he had to adjust the main door several times. And finally, it was time to add some plates on top of the window panels and the door frame, and that secured them in properly. The next build step contained quite a lot of light gray tiles, and you know that you're nearing completion when you get to place tiles on top of your walls. But there were still some additional details. Brightly colored awnings were added to the cafe. And after that, it was time to build a brick-built 3D cafe sign. That went on top of the main door. A prison cell door is used as a lattice between the buildings with some vines attached to it. After that, we can bring the flower shop to full height, and as usual, complete it with layer of plates and tiles. And lastly, it was time to build that 3D flower sign in front of the flower shop, and then the first floors of the assembly square were complete. And here you can see how that 3D sign of the flower shop actually looks. Very cool looking build. The cafe has seating both outdoor in front of the windows and also indoors. And at the back you can see the stairs to the second floor. And as the buildings are only connected with that lattice, you can actually walk between the buildings to this small area behind. And the fact that the building floor heights are not equal on both sides adds a nice bit of variety. And that was the first floors of the assembly square being built. That took some time, even though you saw it with 30 times the normal speed. We're going to complete the build in the next video. You can expect that ASAP, but remember, when a Sloth says that, it means as slowly as possible. Bye bye.